we're about a week away, I guess, from the whole rapture hysteria that happened. That I guess was a big thing on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but you know, a lot of that stuff gets reposted onto YouTube. Thinking about, you know, what all happened and the commentary around it, and, you know, watching people lose their minds about the prospect that Jesus was coming back, which this has been a thing forever. He's not fucking coming back. It's all a fantasy. No one comes back from the dead. But the bigger picture thing that it got me thinking about is what motivates this kind of thought. And there's a lot more qualified people that are making videos on this topic that you should probably listen to first. But the thing that I have to contribute is that I've been observing and studying conservatism, the right wing, and Christian conservatism for decades now, as like a hobby. I'm not professional, you know, it's just something that I enjoy looking into. But it's, you know, when people talk about conservatism, and this is the thing I want to get into in subsequent videos, this specific topic that I'm about to talk about, it's that, you know, a lot of people, when they talk about conservatism, they kind of just, people do this with liberalism too, they kind of just list like policy preferences, like, you know, conservatives believe in this, and this. And that doesn't really tell you like first principles kind of anything about what they actually believe or what any philosophy believes. People will just usually list like, you know, different bullet points of policy preferences. But when you get down to like what makes someone a conservative, what makes a conservative different from a liberal, and a liberal different from a socialist, and a socialist different from, you know, any number of things. What's the difference between being conservative, being right wing, being fascist? Like, where's the delineation? Where do they have overlap? And generally, with the right, with reactionaries, with conservatives, especially Western conservatives, the thing that is the common denominator is authoritarianism to, you know, this or that degree. But generally, you know, regardless of how authoritarian they are, it's a belief in rigid hierarchy, or a rigid belief in hierarchy, or however you want to phrase that. It's a belief in hierarchy. And liberals, Western liberals, American liberals, you know, they'll believe in all sorts of hierarchies too, but not to such a rigid extent. And it's a belief specifically in traditional hierarchies. You know, traditional can mean whatever to whatever group of people, but just for the sake of the conversation, we'll just say traditional hierarchies. And in America, that equates to religion, specifically Christianity, but, you know, the made-up term Judeo-Christian. It's religion, Christianity, it's the family, and it's the market, it's capitalism. Those are the hierarchies that they most, and, you know, patriarchy to, the first three I mentioned are like the ones, but patriarchy to a more or less extent, racism to, you know, I guess not all conservatives are racist or whatever, but not all conservatives are equally bigoted. There's, you know, gender hierarchy, and you know, hierarchy of gender expression and sexuality. As it relates to the rapture and this religious psychosis that we saw, what that's about is, to the extent that it was a conservative phenomenon, there's another level to this that doesn't have so much to do with conservatism, but conservatism, I think, drove a lot of this, not necessarily 100%, but a lot of it was driven by Christian conservatism. But as it relates to Christian conservatism, it's a belief that there's a group that is worthy, gets to be raptured, gets to be saved, gets to go up into heaven, or gets to, you know, be with Jesus in the kingdom of heaven, or, kingdom on earth, or whatever they believe, and that everyone else is in a lower class that doesn't get that privilege. Religion basically has to be hierarchical. In some sects of Christianity, you have the priesthood, and you have different levels of priesthood. You have, the preacher and the parishioners, and, there can be different levels throughout. But even if you don't have such a rigidly structured organization like a church, there's still the inescapable dynamic of God on top, his chosen people below, and then everyone else. You actually kind of see it in the language that was being used during this latest rapture phenomenon, saying that Jesus is a king and Jesus is going to return to his kingdom and rule as a king. That's obviously not new, but you heard it a lot. You heard it a lot in this rapture talk. They desperately want to be ruled by an autocrat. They desire that. They think that is preferable, that is the preferable form of organization. Even, you could say it's a benevolent dictator, but it's still an autocrat. It's still rule that is unquestioning. And, I'm an American. I don't have a fucking king. I don't want any of that shit. But, the American conservatives who have, been fucking screaming about freedom don't actually mean it. They want to be ruled by a king. I guess the other aspect to this that doesn't necessarily have to do with Christianity and hierarchy, or that doesn't necessarily have to do with conservatism and hierarchy, is the general sense of life's not getting better on Earth. So life's not getting better for the vast majority of people. So I'd rather just end it and get to something that I've been told is better, and that's, is around the corner. So why worry about how shitty things are on Earth? That can tie into the idea of hierarchy, but not necessarily. It's just it's just a general sort of observation that, things are fucking shit right now and they don't seem to be getting better. But anyway, like I said, I want to get more into this kind of idea of conservatism being unified in thought by belief in hierarchy and some other aspects. But, since we have some time to reflect on this rapture hysteria that happened, I just wanted to make this to make that connection. But in the meantime, bye.